Oh man, here's the sort of transistor radio that can best be described as a real sweetie. Yes, I run out of words to describe radios like this, and if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I am just full of words. This wonderful little radio was made in Japan around 1959 or 60. The plastic bar running vertically down the front, its chief architectural feature, is underpainted with a couple of stars and has clear window areas to reveal the dial tuning numbers and the logo plate, which runs vertically. The rest of the front is all a good-looking metal mesh grille. On the back, this model has a battery door. On most transistor radios at the time, the entire back came off for changing the battery, but this one has a door with a latch which is operated by a chrome button. It's a little primitive, and the battery cover can easily fall right off of there. And so that is why this other example of this radio that I have, a black one, has no battery cover. Long since lost. I can easily imagine it being consumed up out of the gold shag carpet, no doubt with a lot of clacking, by a big green Hoover vacuum cleaner sometime in the 1960s. In my earliest days of collecting these radios, I scoured flea markets and swap meets with a vengeance, always asking each vendor if they had any little radios. Occasionally I'd be told, "Oh yeah, I have some of those at home. I didn't think anyone would want them." Sometimes they'd promise to bring what they had to the next flea market, and sometimes they'd even suggest I come over to their house later that day and see what they had. Of all the times I did that, the only time it worked out, where I really found something good, was the time I went over and picked up this TRANS-ETTE, the black one, without the battery cover. And the seller was going to look for that battery cover because she was sure it was around there somewhere. And indeed, I followed up with her several times about that, until I grew weary of it, and she with me. That's when I dreamed up the Hoover story instead as a way of getting closure on the matter. Now, what's this Valiant transistor radio? It looks very different from the TRANS-ETTE. It has the same sort of knob placement, but then most transistor radios of this type did as well. It has a nice underpainted top with a bulging magnifier window over the dial. But when we turn it over, we see it has the same sort of battery cover as the TRANS-ETTE. They are almost certainly from the same maker. These are very fragile-looking radios with very thin plastic cabinets, so I'm not inclined to risk opening one up to look at the chassis. They are obviously not intended to be opened up, and besides, by the time these were made, the chassis in Japanese transistor pocket radios were pretty generic. The box is built the way Marvel boxes are made. The Marvel brand radios tended to come in boxes like this, with a kind of axle hinge from which the top flips up. And there's a cutout in the lid that reveals a compartment that holds accessories. Look at this case. It looks as unused as a new pair of Florsheims at the mall. And stamped on the back it says it is genuine top-grain cowhide, hand saddle-stitched. This little matching leather earphone pouch is here too, inside of which the earphone is still wrapped in its original plastic bag. Putting it all back together, we see the package that must have delighted thousands of kids many Christmases ago. Imagine opening this up, a gift from Grandma, who usually gave you socks and stuff, and even one Christmas gave you suspenders for crying out loud. Imagine opening up this gift from her and finding this wonderful TRANS-ETTE inside. "Oh, I was going to get you handkerchiefs," she says. "You know, a boy needs hankies. But your grandpa thought you'd like that instead." "Thanks, Grandpa."